Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Late night here on Tuesday as we look at these Wednesday games, 12 of them to choose from as a pack slate here on Wednesday. I'm going to be going through 4 of these games in depth, looking at these matchups, taking a look at how these teams stack up so we can find some of these betting angles. Quick reminder to subscribe to that page so you don't miss any of these projections videos. I also have about 3 best bets that I've already placed on the night here. So we got an early card that I'm going to hand over to you guys and then finish that up tomorrow morning by putting the comments in the video. Not going to have a live stream tomorrow. Unfortunately, we'll be back on Thursday with that live stream as we do almost every day, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Going to run through that on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week, looking at these NBA slates. So make sure to jump in, bring your bets, and we'll get into those in the comments. For now, I'm going to be looking at some of these games, like I said, and give you a couple of these bets, but do want to make sure that you don't miss any of them moving forward by subscribing to that page. So let's get right into it. First game of the night is going to be a back-to-back for the Dubs, who had a really nice win pulling away from the Heat there in the second half. Won that one by about 20 points or so. They do not have an injury report in. Trace Jackson Davis missed on Tuesday night. That was the only missing Warrior in that game. The Magic are looking at 2 of their shooting guards being out in this one, potentially. Gary Harris and Caleb Houston, both questionable. We'll see if they run for those guys. But look at the last 5 games for these teams. After the Dubs did pick up that big victory, a big difference in the strength of schedule that they've been playing as of late. I will say the Dubs have a very easy strength of schedule remaining after playing a ton of tough teams over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And the Magic have been playing a lot of easy teams over the course of their last couple weeks. But the offensive rating for the Dubs at 8th best in the last 5 games, and that defensive rating has definitely plummeted down to about 5th worst over that time frame. Playing at a pretty fast pace, 11th fastest, but not as fast as they have been, to be honest, over the course of the previous roughly month or so. The rebound percentage is pretty good, mostly because they continue to have a really good offensive rebound percentage. They are actually giving up a good amount of offensive rebounds to their opponents as well. And then the shooting has been down a little bit for them. It always fluctuates. Honestly, it has been anyway this season. And the defensive effective field goal percentage really bad, as that defensive rating would indicate, right? For the Magic, they've been pretty much the team that we expect them to be. Most of these numbers for them, offensive, defensive rating, the pace, and the rebound percentage, all things that they've been at these numbers for most of the season, not just the last 5 to 10 games or so. So there is some not necessarily anything different that's been happening for this team over the last 5. One of the best rebounding teams, if not the best, honestly, over the last 5. They've been the best. And they've been actually much better on offense as well, mostly because, like I said, they're playing some really bad comp as of late. If we look at the Dubs offense a little bit more closely, they're not getting to the free throw line. These are the season-long stats that we've got in front of us here, as there's enough of a sample size now to believe in what we see, right? So they're not giving up they're not getting a ton of free throws. The Magic actually have been giving up a good amount of free throws on the season, although they've been better over the last 5 to 10. Not really important because they've been playing such poo-poo competition, like we said. The Dubs, who rely on offensive rebounds to get their points, especially when their shots are not falling, as is the case for most teams, but really they rely on offensive rebounds and second chance points to keep them in games, because when you shoot far, I mean, they haven't been the same jump shooting team. So the fact that the Magic are limiting that, kind of one of those things that leads you to tends to lead you to the under. That's what I lean towards in this game. If you look at the turnover percentage, this would be one area where the Magic might be able to run up things. Is if the Dubs don't take care of the ball, the Magic will make them pay. Second most points off of turnovers on the season, with the second best turnover rate that they're forcing on their opponents. But if the Dubs are shooting well, that's going to be the only place that they're obviously going to have that advantage on this Magic squad. If they're making that mid-range shot, but there's not enough of them to go around, if they are making the 3, that's going to be what's key here. The Magic have had a much better three-point defense than we saw from them at times last season. They've really improved that, and it's a huge reason for why they've got such a complimentary team right now. But if we look at their offense, I do think they're going to get to the line a ton. So I would lean to the under, but I would also lean to the Magic, honestly, with the Dubs on the back-to-back. It was a great win for them against a very beat-up Miami Heat team who did not have Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, or Jimmy Butler in that game that they really could have used, as they only scored 93 points against this Dubs squad. I don't believe in that offense, that defense rather, that we saw for the Dubs, and I do think the Magic will get to the free throw line. I think they'll get their own level of second chance points in this game, and they will be able to get to the rim as well. So if the Dubs don't foul, then they're probably going to be giving up some layups. I definitely lean to the Magic and to the under in this one. Before I move on to game number 2 I'm diving into, I got to get to a player prop, because we know how we do on this show. We fade Kelly O, fading Kelly Olynyk. We've done it now for about 4 games in a row. It's hit in 3 of them. And I'm going to continue to do it, to be honest with you. And I'm taking all 3 of the combo props here, 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists that we're going under for Kelly O, minus 108 on FanDuel with a full unit there. You can get some pretty good juice on the rebounds and assists under as well, but I'm putting it all together against this Knicks squad, which is favored by 13.5 points. That might go up by tomorrow when everybody's watching these videos here and looking at these stats or these lines for this game. It's a big reason why, like the team total for the Raptors is at 97.5 points, right? There's not going to be a lot to go around for them. He's gone under in 4 of his last 6 since all of these starters left, right? Like Emmanuel Quickley out, RJ Barrett out, Jakob Poeltl out, Scotty Barnes out. They're all done, right, for the season. Emmanuel Quickley was on the injury list for today for Wednesday's games, listed as conditioning issues. He might be the most in shape dude in the league, and they're telling us that he needs a day off for conditioning, which is hilarious. They're just giving up on the season. In those 6 games, 11.8 rebound chances has led to only 5.3 boards, because his contested rebounds are at a 37.5% rate. So he's not getting very many boards when other people give him any kind of, jostle with him at all for these rebounds. And New York limits everything to centers. This is just a perfect time frame. Shout out my guy Free Sauce, who mentioned that in the live stream and on Twitter today, where he was like, look, we got to go back to Kelly O against the Knicks. You kidding me? It's basically the best rebounding team in the league, and you're going to take Kelly Olynyk to get rebounds and points in this one. Those are the 2 things I like the most. He might get some random assists, but because I don't think there's enough points to go around to get him all of these stats, we're going to fade Kelly O once more and go under with that bet. And that brings us to the second game that we're looking at here. My favorite team in the league right now, the Houston Rockets, taking on the OKC Thunder. 5.5 point dogs for the Rockets, who've been playing real bad comp. We'll take a look at that here. A 230.5 total, which is actually higher than we've seen for the Rockets, but they have flown past, other than this last game where they beat up on the Portland Trailblazers. I couldn't remember for a sec, and that game went under because the Trailblazers couldn't score at all. Rockets only put up 113 in that one. I say only because they were putting up like anywhere from 130 to 140 over the course of the previous roughly like 5 games. You see the same guys out for the Rockets, and the Thunder, who just came off a back-to-back with a really good win against the Pelicans here on the road. They're not coming back home, but that win on the road against the Pellies was very nice for them as they won that game by 7. We'll see who's going to be out of the lineup for them, if anybody. But let's jump more closely into the last 5 games between these 2 teams. The Rockets are all green because they're top 10 in pretty much all of these core categories and stats. But you look at the strength of schedule at the top there, 29th, meaning they've played the second easiest schedule in their last 5 games. Big part of why it's tough to trust them down the stretch. They're going to have a really tough strength of schedule remaining. So temper those bets to have them jump into the play-in over the Golden State Warriors. I get it. It's like plus 350 right now for the Rockets to leapfrog this Dubs team that they're only 1 game back of. And if they do win this game and the Dubs lose to the Magic, now we're talking about both teams tied for that 10 seed. The Rockets we know the Rockets want that, but not sure that this is going to be an easy enough schedule for them to get by teams like the Thunder. You still got the Nuggets and the Timberwolves left, so they're in for it moving down the stretch here. But those numbers look really good, and the most important thing is that pace that we see all the way up to 5th, and the Thunder remain at 3rd fastest pace. They've been in the top 5 fastest pace all season. They've sort of waned a little bit with that offensive rating, defensive rating, both in the middle of the pack now, whereas on the season, they're in the top 5 in both of those categories. So they've obviously fallen back a little bit, even not playing great competition. They almost seem bored, like they just are ready for the playoffs. Makes me a little bit worried for them as they get into the playoffs. But if we look at this Houston offense, it's crazy how much different it's been without Şengün. I'm still waiting to really see what it's like against really good comp, though, right? Like even Chicago is probably the best defensive team they've played in the last like 7 games. And even they've been on a cold streak when it comes to playing D. So don't trust the numbers I saw from the Rockets against the Bulls. Don't really have anybody that they played that I trust. So I'm not going to look too closely at that. We do know that this is season numbers at the same time. So they are playing really well when it comes to getting to the free throw line, crashing the offensive boards, limiting turnovers when they're on offense, and limiting their points off of turnovers for their opponent when they're on offense, right? And that is huge against the Thunder, who you can see on the season. They have the number 1 turnover percentage that they're forcing their opponents into, and they have the number 1 most points off of turnovers on the season, off of those turnovers that they're forcing. So if they're able to get the ball and go, there's likely going to be a lot of more points in this game that might be expected. I do think the fact that the Houston defense does get back on D against when those turnovers are had, they're limiting teams to the third fewest points off of their turnovers, right? So even when the Rockets turn the ball over, they've still been really good at getting back. And the fact that they try to get in transition, but the Thunder limit transition, all this kind of leads me to go to an under. I have this game projected right at about 229 points or so. So that is tough for me to just go ahead and take an under with only that 1 or 2 points of value. I usually like to get at least 4 points of value between what my projection is and the total. If I can, I'll often take 2.5, 3 as well. But I love to hit that 4 number when I can get it. And like I said, I have this at about 228, 2.5, 229. In that range is where I project the score of this one. So you look at the offense for this should be actually the offense for the Thunder. My apologies. The OKC offense here, free throw rate, not great over the last bunch of well, this is on the season as well, and they are getting into the paint a ton. They're making most of their shots. Like, really, how do you defend from the free throw line and that area slightly in? That's where the Thunder are taking the majority of their shots. They are going to hit some threes, but for the most part, they want to get to the rim or a little bit shy of the rim, right? And play in that, basically I'm saying shy, SGA, where he plays. If he's hitting that mid-range or getting right into the paint, then it's going to be a problem for the Rockets. So I don't have a bet yet on this game, but I lean under slightly, and I do think the Rockets are going to keep bringing it against a team like the Rockets, who honestly, like, the Rockets just haven't played the comp for me to trust them right now. All right, one more interruption here to bring you a ladder player prop bet that I have in right now, and I think we're getting really good odds to ladder this thing up with Tyrese Halliburton over 10.5 assists. That's terrible juice, -140 for just a unit, but on FanDuel, we can keep going up and climbing that ladder. If you don't know what that means, it means I'm going to take his alt assist for him to get 12 plus for +115 on FanDuel. Got 0.7 units on that. Also going to take our guy to get 14 or more assists in this one. Those are his alt assist props. I'm going to take that for +320 on FanDuel for 0.3 units. So we have an opportunity to win some good money back on not a lot of stake here for Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, I've got 2 units on it, but we could win about 4 of them back if we can hit some of these bets. So the thing with Hallie is he's back up to 34 minutes per game, and he's playing Chicago. And Indy playing Chicago is basically the dude getting the most assists in the league versus a team that's giving up a ton of assists to point guards all season, because they limit points to point guards and to shooting guards in general. So there is the potential that they limit his points. It's only at 18.5 for Hallie, so it's not that high. I do think the books are pretty sharp to the way that Chicago plays defense, because this is a pretty high assist prop, but not a very high points prop, right? And I think we can still get value with those ladders. 26 potential assists versus this team, and averaging that in the 3 games that he's played against them this season, right? That's nuts. In the 3 games, 11 plus assists in all 3 of those games, actually 5 of 6 dating back to last season versus this team, with Alex Caruso in there a lot. And Caruso might be out, which honestly doesn't hurt him in his ability to get assists. It does mean that he will be a little bit more likely to score, which obviously hurts his assists. So we kind of want Caruso out there. As good of a defender as Caruso is, the main reason that the Chicago team has been limiting assists to point guards is, limiting points to point guards is because his defense is so good, and they force the ball out of his hands, and they do bum rush that point guard and really play that blitz style defense, which does lead to assists coming for this dude once he gets the defense imbalanced, right? In the stretch where he's gotten these at least 11 assists in 3 straight, and the 5 of the 6 for Chicago, he's averaging 12.8 during that stretch. And like I said, Chicago just allows a ton of assists to point guards on the season, and Halliburton overall. So this is going to be my second best bet of the night. Next game that I do have a bet for here is this Clippers in Philadelphia taking on the 76ers match. -5.5 for the visiting Clippers. I don't know. I mean, look, Philly's terrible, but I'm not willing to bet on a side with this Clippers squad right now who could lose to damn near anybody, to be honest. And to cover on the road like this, it's a little bit of a revenge factor. It's not out of the question that they actually do try in this game with everybody likely to play and Russell Westbrook back, which actually is huge for them, to be honest, not only in the second unit, but like they have not been a good rebounding team at all. And Russ is going to be huge for that. So they don't have their injury report submitted, but Russ played in the last game. He should be good to go moving forward as they get him back into playoff form with these last few games that they have in the regular season. Sixers, we don't know if Oubre is playing. If Oubre is not playing, then it's even less likely that I would feel comfortable with +5.5 for this Sixers team. They have no offense right now, and they could really use even Tsunami Papi, Kelly Oubre Jr. if they're able to. But you see the big dudes out, Joel Embiid, D'Anthony Melton, and Robert Covington all out for them. Look at this last 5 games. Offensive rating for the 76ers is terrible. Clippers, not so bad. Defensive rating for the Clippers, terrible, 29th. And the D rating for this 76ers squad, top 10. And they've been playing at a super slow pace, really trying to keep it choppy. They're really good on defense from the standpoint of getting steals, which I'll talk about in 1 second. But like, they're the best steals team at getting steals in the league, and it's honestly not even close. Like, they're far and away the best steals leader in the NBA. But both these teams playing slowly. Both of them have been terrible in the last 5 rebounding. And look, Philly's been awful. Bottom 4 rebounding team in the league since Joel went down. One of the worst. Like, if Toronto wasn't a basketball team, this might be the worst rebounding team in the league. But they continue to play Kelly Olynyk at center in Toronto, so that's why they can't rebound. But if you look at the defensive field goal percentage, that the Philadelphia is limiting teams to the 8th best defensive effective field goal percentage. Well, if you're off on offense, it's the 8th worst. And the Clippers have the worst defense when it comes to limiting the other team's shooting, as you can see in their last 5 games. But that doesn't really matter against this Philly team, because they are one of the worst teams when it comes to shooting, as they need to rely on a lot of pull-ups from Tyrese Maxey. Looking at this Clippers offense a little bit more closely, are getting to the free throw line on the season. That could be a problem for this 76ers team, who has been fouling a ton on the season, and really in their last 10, especially without Joel Embiid. The offensive rebound percentage is actually not bad for the Clippers. They are reliant on Zubac as the predominant dude to get those offensive boards, but they do have Russ back, and he's their second sort of leading offensive rebounder, if you will. So there is the likelihood that they could get to get some of those second chance points, and then get to the free throw line as a result. We'll see if that's the case. But as far as turnover percentage, they do turn the ball over a decent amount, and this 76ers team, like I said, they will steal the ball from you. They have the 4th best opponent turnover percentage, but that's not strictly steals, right? They do have the most steals. It's just there's other ways to turn teams over. They are turning those turnovers into points, 4th most points off of turnovers on the season. And the ability to limit the mid-range and the 3 is something that Philly's done super well, which is why they've gone under so consistently, because they're playing jump shooting teams. And even when they do, they're really, really good at limiting what they want to do. When teams drive to the bucket and go to the rim, they're in trouble, because their defense down low is terrible, obviously, with Mo Bamba and, I guess Paul Reed really looking to defend that rim for them hasn't really been working out. They need Joel Embiid, which is an obvious thing to say. Taking a look at this Philly offense, it's important to look at the last 10 games, which is what we're doing for most of their stats here, because of the fact that Joel Embiid has not played for, more than 10 games, but this is at least a good enough sample size for this current iteration of this Philly offense, which is bad. It's really, really bad, as we showed you with that offensive rating. That's not great. Their free throw attempt rate is 6th worst, which is wild, because they're in the top 3 when they have Joel Embiid, which is obvious. They're about 9 free throw attempts per game fewer without Joel Embiid than with him. They turn into a jump shooting team, and they don't have a lot of great jump shooters, to be honest with you. The Clippers are limiting opponents' free throws. They're limiting offensive rebounds. There shouldn't be too many sort of scrappy, gross, random points off of little bouncing balls and offensive rebounds that are available for the 76ers. The Clippers do a good job of limiting that. They also limit down low. They've been really good. Zubac needs that sort of credit for this season, as he's been the dude who has been limiting the opponent's field goal percentage inside of 5 feet better than anybody else on this team, for sure, and really the only dude who's been doing it at a really solid rate. So he has been really important for them for that to that regard, but it doesn't really matter, because the Sixers team isn't going to the rim. The only thing they might be able to do is push the tempo and get some points in transition if Maxey wants to get it and go, but they've been playing so slowly and so poorly on offense that my next best bet here, and the third one on the night, is this game to go under 218.5. If you look at the last 10 games for Philly, they've actually gone under in 8 of 10 that they've gone under. And the one game that they went over, they had 219 as well. So one of the 2 games they had 219. The other game they scored, it was 228 total when they beat Clippers, this same Clippers team in LA, roughly like 10 days ago. And that game was 121 to 107. Philly shot 53% from the field in that game. Just to let you know how much of an outlier that is for this awful shooting team right now, in the other 9 games over their last 10, they've shot 41.3% from the field. I don't trust this Clippers offense. I certainly do not trust this Philly offense at all. It's bottom 5 in the league for sure, easy, without any rim protection. So it's a give and take with them, but the Clippers have been prone to playing at the same pace and style that their opposition does. So I love this under 218.5 for this Clippers and 76ers game. Real quick, before I wrap things up with this final game here, do want to remind you the live stream coming back 5:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. I give you some updated bets in that video and in that live stream, and we also get your guys' bets in there. You jump in the comments, let me know what you want to talk about. We go through it together, and I show you some of my process for how I grade these bets and handicap games and player props. Right. So, quick reminder to get in there on Thursday. I'll see y'all then. Let me know if you have anything for tomorrow on Twitter and the like. I'll have the bets, the final best bets pinned to the comments of this video as well. But really brief look at this Phoenix and Denver game in Denver, because it's really weird to me how bad Phoenix is. Like they're not winning games. They're currently in a play-in team with the 7th seed. If you look at their ratings though, like they're really freaking good, man. They've got the 5th best offensive rating. Decent enough defensive rating, although that would be somewhere you they leave you wanting more. The pace is pretty high. The rebound percentage is very high. 2nd best rebound percentage in the league over their last 5 games, despite not winning that many of them. And their effective field goal percentage, best in the league. Like this has been the best shooting team in the league. And to be fair, effective field goal percentage takes into account that a 3-point shot is more difficult to make than a 2-point shot. So if you make a 3, it's going to increase your effective field goal percentage more than if you make a 2. If you miss a 3, it's not going to harm your effective field goal percentage quite as much as a 2 does. So that's what that means. It's really just your precise field goal percentage, considering that a 3 is harder than a 2. So because they're taking a lot of longer range shots, that is going to be a reason that they have a higher effective field goal percentage, because they don't need to make quite as many of them. That said, there's no reason that they should be losing games to the San Antonio Spurs without Victor Wembanyama. That is bananas to me, that this team, like missing the play-in or making the play-in, is a failure for this team that is not going to win its division, and was pretty heavily, not heavily favored, but favored to do so before the season started. They're a massive disappointment. The Nuggets are in true March form of the Nuggets, but they should still win this game easily. -7.5, it's a little bit bigger. It opened it closer to 4.5, and anything under 5 for this game, I definitely would have taken. If you want to hit the money line for the Nuggets, they're a much better team in the clutch than the Suns as well. So strong lean on the Nuggets to win this game, but this quickly got out of hand from 4.5 to 7.5 before I could even get to it. So since I don't have a bet down on it, it still has to be a lean. We'll look at this a little bit more tomorrow, and I'll let you know in the comments of the video what we're doing here. But that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. Appreciate y'all following along. Definitely want to subscribe to that page. We got college hoops videos up with Oaks as we get ready for that stuff on Thursday, and we get back into this Sweet 16 action. I'll be back on Thursday and tomorrow night with a video projections for Thursday, some best bets as soon as I can get them in. And then on Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, back with that live stream. So until I see you next, happy betting.